You're telling me. I wish I could just do it to where people couldn't see anything.
I mean, I've never personally had a problem with using green screen.
Yeah, but it's trying to... the pocket is not a person.
Except for every once in a while the cats would get in my way.
Welcome in. I'm trying to figure out this stuff. I don't know why it's showing my pocket with my paperwork in the background. I don't know how to fix that. I've tried a few different backgrounds and it's still showing it. So I'm sorry. I don't know why it's showing that per se. Ow. Go down just a little bit with this. I'm just gonna...
Whatever you did. Oh, you moved it.
Yeah, I just moved it to the chair. Thanks for all the likes, babe. You're spamming the chat with that. Okay, so it has come to my attention that... Can you turn this down? I don't have the remote.
Turn it down, leave it out.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to be able to hear it at all.
Alright, dude. Don't trip over a night.
See? It just got louder when you walked over there.
There.
Okay. So I'm going to have this muted for a little... Hey!
My bad.
So we're going to be discussing the obvious on-screen person, individual. I personally don't know a lot about her. I've heard the name, but not the story. So I'm going to be like watching some YouTube videos. You'll probably hear them. You won't see them. I am not claiming the rights to her story. I am not claiming the rights of anything apart from me, just my personal opinion on the matter, everything. This is like another case of Ash Trevino. Like, I jump on TikTok and all I saw was Ash. Now all I'm seeing is Casey Anthony. And I'm wondering, who is she and why are people claiming that she unalived her 2-year-old when she was acquitted of it and found pretty much innocent of the crime? So I don't know a lot about the story, so we are going to be discussing the story together. My husband is with me as well. He probably knows more about the story than me. She has a movie. I seen she had a documentary on YouTube. I don't think I'm going to be watching that in this live because it might be a little bit lengthy. But I did go on YouTube and I'm going to be looking at, like, you know, just like stuff that might summarize what happened, like looking probably into some of the stuff that's been said in court and stuff. Like, from my understanding, she was accused of unaliving her 2-year-old back in, I believe, 2008, and was acquitted of it, and has since been under the radar for like 14 years, for personal reasons like mental health or, you know, whatever. And she has now resurfaced on TikTok recently, creating an account saying she is a legal advocate. And people are honestly not liking the fact that she's on the platform. So there's actually people out there who actually want her unalived. There are people who are just wishing the worst on her, calling her a few names that I've been called that I will not repeat. Me personally, I try not to judge people, because God's the one that judges us at the end of the day. Only God can judge us, and only God knows what really happened with this story.
Alright, dude.
Only God knows if she really did what people are saying she did. But it's also that it also comes into play, like, you know, if, you know, there was lie detector tests done from what I've seen. There was a lot of testing done. There was a lot of stuff done. And they didn't find any evidence really to back up that she was the one that did it. So why are people still thinking she's the one that did it? So I'm just gonna be like, you know, and feel free to chime in. Opinions are fine. Just try to stay respectful with it. So, like the live, share it out, whatever. I'm gonna find the main thing that I've been seeing is she made it to the news. And they're claiming she joined TikTok to promote her work as a legal advocate. So I don't know what to expect. I am following her on TikTok. I am part of the 45,000 people that are following her. As is my husband, I believe. He's also following her.
Yep.
Her comments are turned off, which I do believe is the best for not only her mental health, but for the sake of the people who are, like, saying this about her, saying that about her, because she can literally take that crap to court, like, with some of the stuff that people are saying, but, like, when it comes to threatening and stuff. So I am on YouTube, and if you have a certain video you want me to look over, I can. Do. I mean, there's people saying she's a pathological liar, which I am closely related to one. I'm not going to, name names, but if you followed me for a while, you know who I'm indicating at. I'm trying to find a decent video that's not like a 50-minute court TV thing. I mean, do we have time for that?
For what?
Do we have an hour to 1 to 2 hours to watch a court TV thing and pause it and go over it? It's 7 o'clock. We might as well.
I don't give a shit.
Okay. So we're just gonna pull up court TV.
I may not be in the live stream like most of them. I'm probably gonna be like really late.
Right. Here we go.
More than a decade after the O.J. Simpson murder trial captivated people around the world, another murder case made its way onto our TV screens, and another name became infamous. In 2008, a missing toddler from a quiet Orlando suburb. All right, dude. National news. Her mother's name was Casey Anthony, and her trial for the little girl's death would grip the nation.
The Anthony family was a really typical-looking family. It was a cop, a nurse, their 2 children, and then the daughter had a baby. None of that is out of the ordinary. So at the center of this case, we had a beautiful little girl, and she was missing, and it was a mystery, and we didn't know why, but what we did know was that mom was out partying while the baby was missing. It's not a month that does not go by in my life that I don't have someone stop me on the street. And somewhere during that conversation, I wonder what really happened to Kelly.
Okay, sorry, something popped up on the screen.
Not a month that does not go by in my life.
So,
out of the ordinary.
hang on.
So at the center of this case, we had a beautiful little girl.
There's some I see was brought up on China Black Story.
We didn't know why, but what we
You can't say that on live.
They can.
The R word?
Neglect.
Oh, I thought you said RAPE.
No.
Well, give me a
was
second.
that mom was out partying while the baby was missing.
Okay, it says As soon as I can see the rest of the screen, that'd be great. Am I gonna have to put this on my TV? Just to be able to see the rest of the screen? How do I... It's cutting half of it off on my laptop. What?
What the heck?
What? What are you saying what the heck for?
Because it was all up there for a minute.
Yeah, and then when I pause it, it stops because the mouse is moving. It thinks I'm doing something. So, Donkey's the only one on. Is there name tags for sale by any chance? Oh, fuck. Okay. 1 second, guys. Let me... We're going to get into it. I'm trying to fix it to where I can read you what it's stating on the video. If I can figure out how to do that. I'm going to assume he's over here at the stables. Getting a horse if he needs a name tag. No? Okay, well, I'm just going to... Okay, I'm just going to grab... They left the rum anyway. I'm just going to put some in my chest. Is this mine? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. One second, guys. I'm trying to get all this done. Okay. I'm just going to tell him in barrel at my shop. Got to go. Okay. They can deal with that. Welcome. If you're just joining, we're going to be discussing Casey Anthony, figuring out who she is, what happened to her, what happened to her daughter Kaylee, and just trying to figure out what her plans are on TikTok, I'm guessing. So give me just a second. I gotta pull up YouTube on my TV because my computer is cutting off half the screen whenever I pause it, and I do not know how to fix that. Let's see, there we go. I cannot hear it. Do you have the remote? So that we can, why is it doing that? Wait, is this the same one? Yeah.
More than a decade after the O.J. Simpson murder trial captivated people around the world, another murder case made its way onto our TV screens, and another name became infamous. In 2008, a missing toddler from a quiet Orlando suburb became the focus of international news. Her mother's name was Casey Anthony, and her trial for the little girl's death would grip the nation.
The Anthony family was a really typical looking family. It was a cop, a nurse, their 2 children, and then the daughter had a baby. None of that is out of the ordinary. At the center of this case, we had a beautiful little girl, and she was missing, and it was a mystery, and we didn't know why, but what we did know was that mom was out partying while the baby was missing.
Okay. So it says July 15th, 2008, Casey Anthony admits to her mother that her daughter has been missing for 31 days.
It's not a month that does not go by in my life that I don't have someone stop me on the street. And somewhere during that conversation, they asked, I wonder what really happened to Kelly.
July 16th, 2008, Casey Anthony is arrested for child neglect, providing false statements to police, and obstruction. October 14th, 2008, Casey Anthony is indicted on capital unaliving and other charges. She pled not guilty. April 13th of 2009, prosecutors announced that they will be seeking the unaliving penalty.
Anytime a young mom is charged with killing her children, it makes the headlines because that is such an aberration, it's such a deviation from what young mothers are.
Casey, you don't realize that the whole United States is looking for Kaylee. Can you look up a little bit more? Raise your eyes up a little bit. There you go. So now, look straight up so I can look into your eyes, darling. Thank you.
She did appear normal. I think she's about as abnormal as she can get, but I think people wanted her to show some emotion. She never did.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony. Does the state care to make an opening statement at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
This is the case of the state of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony. However, it is time to tell the story of a little girl named Kaylee.
George Anthony specifically recalls that at 12:50 p.m. on June 16th of 2008, George Anthony kissed his granddaughter goodbye and never saw her again. His daughter, Casey, left the residence on Hope Spring Drive with Kaylee Marie Anthony. She told her mother that she was going to spend the night with a babysitter by the name of Sam. You will learn there is missing. The body of Kaylee Marie Anthony had been wrapped in a Winnie the Pooh blanket and thrown into a littered swamp like she was just another piece of trash. Kaylee's death allowed Casey Anthony to live a good life, at least for those 31 days.
Everybody had convicted Casey Anthony in the court of public opinion long before she ever walked in that courtroom. And so Jose Baez and his group of attorneys had to undo that with these jurors who had all kind of heard about the case.
The media latched onto this case. My job was to save Casey Anthony from the death penalty. If the case went south and for whatever reason a jury came back that she was guilty of first-degree murder, my job was to try to save her life. I believe we could have mitigated the death penalty.
How in the world can a mother wait 30 days before ever reporting her child missing? It's insane. It's bizarre. Well, the answer is actually relatively simple. She never was missing. Kaylee Anthony died on June 16, 2008, when she drowned in her family's swimming pool. As soon as Casey came around this corner and went back, she saw George Anthony holding Kaylee in his arms. She immediately grabbed Kaylee and began to cry. Her death was covered up. This family must keep its secrets quiet. And it all began when Casey was 8 years old and her father came into her room and began to touch her inappropriately. Casey has a brother. When he was a teenager, he attempted to also touch his sister. Casey was raised to lie. That will help you understand why no one knew that her child was dead.
We were finding out all this dysfunction in this family, all these lies, all these secrets, all this backbiting that was going on in this family before Kaylee even went missing. That Casey was willing to at least accuse her father and her brother of molesting her so that she could get out of jail for killing the baby. That's not a normal family. That's dysfunction.
Is your daughter there? Yeah, can I speak with her? Hello? Hello? Yes. Hi. Can you tell me what was going on? My daughter's been missing for the last 31 years. Who has her? Do you have a name? Her name is Verena Fernandez Dublauer. Who is that? Babysitter? She's been my nanny for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. Yeah, why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago? I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her.
When you first met Ms. Anthony, can you tell the jury how she appeared?
She always seemed like she was having a good time.
Did you ever see her distraught?
No, sir.
Depressed?
No, sir.
Scared?
No, sir.
She was partying and having a good time. Did she tell you that her daughter was missing?
No.
Did she ever tell you that her daughter had been kidnapped?
No.
That she was missing?
No. No.
No.
No, sir. No, sir.
Did you ever ask the defendant where Kaylee was?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did she tell you?
No, she was at Disney World with the nanny.
She said she was with the nanny.
She told me that she was spending the weekend at the beach with the nanny.
Did Casey Anthony ever tell you that her daughter was missing?
No, sir.
That she was looking for her?
No.
That she needed any help?
No. No, sir.
Did she ever cry?
No.
Did she ever act scared?
Nope.
At any time during this night, did she ever tell you that her child was missing?
No, sir.
Once the jury was there, I think they hated Casey Anthony. Well, you could tell. They would glare at her. They didn't like her. They would shake their heads when they'd see pictures of her dancing on tables and everything. Nobody knows where she is, but all we know
What the hell is happening?
is that Mom, Casey Anthony, was out partying when she should have been looking for her daughter.
How come everybody's saying that you're not upset, that you're not crying, that you show no caring of where Kaylee is at all? You're crying every 2 seconds because I have to stay composed and talk to detectives and have to tell me if you know anything about Kaylee. If anything happens with Kaylee, Casey, I'll die. You know what I'm saying? I'll die. If anything happens to that baby. Oh my God. Calling you guys? A waste. Huge waste.
Everything's coming out of your mouth a lot. Everything. And what happened to Kate?
I don't know.
Sure you do.
I don't know.
More personal loan. As details of the Anthony case unfolded each day, public interest intensified, along with protests and anger towards Casey and even her family. On many days, tension outside the courthouse was matched by the friction inside the courtroom.
We're talking about cold, hard evidence. He can get up here and lie all he wants and dance around the truth, but the truth is the truth. And depending on who's asking the questions, whether it's this laughing guy right here or whether it's myself. Approach the bench.
This case was the craziest case I've ever been involved in. It was like the Hatfields and the McCoys. And they were using profanity at each other just in the regular course of business.
How is the good faith basis relevance of that? That is not the question counsel asked, and he darn well knows it.
Anything else, folks?
The prosecution and the defense of the Casey Anthony case couldn't stand each other. Sometimes nobody could see it, but those of us in the gallery. Watching them backbite each other, watching them snip at each other, watching them roll their eyes while somebody on their own team was up there, cross-examining a witness.
Approach the sidebar and cut your comments out. The level of tension in this one here was probably, it was a 10. My major concern was one, courtroom control. What is that symbol that you are projecting with your fingers?
Using my middle finger, and I'm sorry.
Okay, and what does that mean, sir?
The F word to someone.
At this time, I will adjudge you to be guilty. I will sentence you to 6 days in Orange County Jail, or he will be remanded. I made it loud and clear that I was not going to tolerate anyone breaking any rules, be it the prosecution, the defense, or the public.
I've never seen so many people so invested in the outcome of a criminal case. Everybody had adopted Kaylee Anthony as their own, and they wanted to avenge her death in some way.
You said that the person that you dropped Kaylee with doesn't even exist. Because, look, they can't find her in the Florida database. She's not just from Florida. They need to look up her information in a New York database, in a North Carolina database, other places that she's lived outside of Florida.
On Monday, June 9th, 2008, between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., I, Casey Anthony, took my daughter, Kaylee Marie Anthony, to her nanny's apartment. Zenaida Fernandez-Gonzalez has watched her for the past year and a half to 2 years. However, after reaching the apartment, I realized that neither Zenaida, Kaylee, or either of her 2 roommates were home.
Did you determine whether or not an individual by the name of Zenaida Gonzalez had been the last occupant of that apartment?
I researched the prior occupants of that apartment, and it was not Zenaida Gonzalez who occupied it.
I think it's really simple. I think that she wanted to party. I think that she had looked at different ways to knock the child out. And maybe she'd done it before successfulthat Sandy the nanny reference. Like Xanax for the baby. That's really the keeper of the child.
Everything's coming out of your mouth a lot. Everything. So I look at you one couple ways. I look at you as a person who's here, who's concerned, or
very cool.
Why do you say her last name?
we're just trying to get away with something. Something that happened, trying to cover it up. Or perhaps stupid. Okay? And what you're doing right now is you're treating us like we're stupid.
It would have been very hard for Casey Anthony to take the stand because Casey Anthony had lied so many times. So what would she do under cross-examination? The defense team knew that Casey couldn't take the stand.
Hey, sweetie. I just saw your nice little cameo on TV. You don't know what my involvement is and stuff? You're not telling me where she's at. Because I don't know where she's at. Are you kidding me? I don't want to talk to you right now. Forget it.
The woman on the tape was someone who was completely in charge. She would be demanding, she would speak up, she would challenge them.
I talked to my mother, and
They had to do something to counter all the video that we were seeing in court of her yelling at her parents and swearing at her parents. At the beginning of the trial, she was a little bit more defiant. She was outraged that she was on trial for this. And at some point, we started seeing Casey Anthony wearing blouses that came up to her neck so that, with a big bow on it to look as innocent as possible. They even lowered her seat so she looked smaller than everybody else on the defense table. Because what they were trying to do was show this is a girl who could never kill anybody.
Now, what happened to Katie?
I don't know.
Sure you do.
I don't know.
I'm guessing something that happened to her some time ago and you haven't seen her. She's either in your house, she's either in the dumpster right now, she's there somewhere.
I'm a year leader with Orange County, and I had the lot failure that included the Anthony tunnel. I noticed something that looked white, and there was a gray bag down in there.
That's not in the whole thing with the
Kaylee
cover.
Anthony stretched into 5 months. The news spread like wildfire.
What do you mean?
Human remains had been
Is it not
discovered
in
not
the
far from the
beginning?
Anthony home.
The drowning, her dad doing that kind of stuff to them? Yeah. The whole thing was a cover up.
Back behind one of the trees down there with the gray bag, and then a little bit further up, and now I saw something white. And it would be on the right hand side, but I saw what I saw.
There have been significant skeletal remains located late this afternoon. The skeletal remains are still the consistency of a small child.
The discovery comes a week after a child's skull was found in a nearby wooded area, blocks away from where the 2-year-old lived with her mother and grandparents.
We have secured the Anthony house. We've also exhumed the remains, and that has been transported to the medical examiner's office.
Did you receive results from the FBI as to identification of the remains?
Yes.
And did that laboratory identify the remains as Kaylee Marie Anthony?
Yes, they did.
They found duct tape. They actually did a graphic of the 4 parts of the skull and put it back together for the jury so that they could see the duct tape around the child's face.
Do you have an opinion as to the manner of death in this case?
It is a red flag that when a child is not reported immediately to authorities, that's something we look for foul play. Besides the delay, besides the being found in a field decomposed, would be the duct tape somewhere located on the lower half of this face. There is no child that should have duct tape on its face when it dies.
Based on the skeletal condition of the remains, can you render a medical conclusion on the cause of death?
What I put was homicide of undetermined means.
Well, the prosecution maintained that Casey suffocated Kaylee using duct tape. The defense argued that Kaylee's death was an accident. They presented a theory that had surfaced nearly 2 years earlier.
Someone just said that Kaylee was dead this morning, that she drowned in the pool. That's the newest story out there. Surprise, surprise.
There's the proof that she could easily get outside. There's the proof that she was big enough and strong enough to open the door. You can't get anything better than that. And look at how soft Cindy is holding her or touching her. She's on her own. And look at what Kaylee's doing. Kaylee's diving into that water.
When the defense gave their opening statement and said Kaylee Anthony was found face down in the pool, What the prosecution should have done at that point was to say, when you find your baby face down in the pool, you call the police, you call an ambulance, because you don't know if she's dead or not. And if you decide then to put duct tape around her and wrap her body in a trash bag and throw it in the woods, that is aggravated child abuse. That's a 15-year charge. They wanted a first-degree charge so much that they didn't bother to explain it's child abuse.
George began to yell at her. Look what you've done. Your mother will never forgive you, and you will go to jail for child neglect for the rest of your freaking life. Why did George do this? Why didn't he call him?
You started off with pointing the finger at George, the father. You start questioning his credibility, his believability, so you would discount his particular testimony. And what they did was they created a ball of confusion.
Were you present in your home when Kaylee Anthony died?
No, when I heard that today, it hurt really bad. As if I would have known something would happen to Kaylee, we wouldn't be here tonight.
Did you dispose of the body of your granddaughter?
No, I did not. Mr. Paez, what would you see to determine whether someone drowned?
I don't like him. I don't like the dad.
To answer the court's question.
I'm pausing right now because I don't like the way Casey's dad answered that question. Only for the simple fact he showed no remorse that his granddaughter is deceased. They just found her body dismembered, I do believe as well, from what it sounded like. And he's not crying. He's not showing any remorse. He's looking them straight in the face. You know, I don't know. To me, that's just kind of a red flag to like. And I've already seen Casey crying on multiple occasions, regardless of people saying that she showed no sympathy towards her daughter dying, but yet she's been crying in the courtroom from what I've been seeing. But her dad just, I don't know, there's something about her dad. It's something about her dad that I don't know. I don't like her dad. I don't like the way he looked. I don't like the way he just answered that question. There's something, I'm just getting bad vibes from her dad. I really am.
The court's question, I believe, was what record evidence is there that the victim drowned? The answer is none. Casey is staying with her boyfriend, Tony, and sadly, Kaylee is in all likelihood in the trunk.
It was an odor consistent of what I smelled in the past when it comes to decomposition. It's not a smell that you forget.
$39.95. Forensic science took center stage in the Anthony trial. Over several weeks,
I will say in the beginning, I kind of was like, oh, why would she be out partying if her daughter's missing? Because you do think about that, and that is a red flag. They are right. I don't know, was she on narcotics at all during the time of her daughter supposedly being
confirmed or not? But if you actually watch it from the beginning, what they actually said was that there was evidence that she had drowned. And the person that was watching her was her father.
Yeah, I just watched where he answered a question about, were you at home when they, when you found out that Kaylee had passed, and he didn't show any remorse versus, and at the beginning of this it said that, that Casey Anthony did not show any remorse or any sympathy, but yet she was just crying in the courtroom on multiple different occasions. And her father, which would have been the grandfather, showed no remorse, no sympathy to his granddaughter dying, and was so quick to answer the questions. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't even think about the question. You know, he's straight, no, I did not hide her body. Like, looked him dead in the eye. There's no sign of redness around his eyes, nothing that would indicate any type of sympathy. Just a numb face.
And he's also a cop.
So he knows how to do.
So stop and think about that for a minute.
Right.
A cop that knows how to cover up evidence.
Exactly.
Who knows how to defeat a lie detector test.
Mm-hmm.
He knows all the background stuff.
Right.
He knows how to cover his tracks.
Right.
That's why I never trusted him.
But back to the thing of her partying and everything. I was going to say if narcotics was involved, that could be why she wasn't really too concerned in the moment. Or she may have turned to narcotics for the fact that her daughter was missing.
I don't think she realized that she was missing at the time either. Because if you stop and think about it, if Kaylee died in the bath or in the pool,
right,
and her father covered it up,
then they would have told her about Kaylee.
Exactly.
Because if she wasn't there and Kaylee was supposed to be staying with the
Kaylee made up all kinds of stories to cover up for what was going on.
Exactly.
Because she didn't want her dad getting in trouble. Mm-hmm. Her dad was the one who basically said that she was missing. And her mother was covering up for it too.
Right.
So no, I don't think Casey had anything to do with it. I think that she was oblivious to it.
Well, from what I've seen so far, it just looks like a mom who's really upset about, her daughter being missing. And she hasn't really spoken yet. I don't know if she's done anything. I mean, we're 21 minutes into this. So all I've seen is her crying and then, I don't know, her dad just...
the tape.
What?
Did you forget that her father was a cop?
What are they talking about?
Is there
something I haven't gotten to yet?
Yeah, the so-called evidence that they found. So they said that they smelled dead body in Casey's car. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like her dad didn't have access to the car.
Someone just joined and their name is Dumpster Divers. That's what I am.
But if you notice another thing they said, they had already made up their mind about Casey before the trial even began.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They just straight up pinned it on her because it was a red flag that she waited 31 days.
Because she was not aware of it at the time.
And the only way that she wouldn't have been aware of it is because of, where she said that she was supposed to be with her. But what about this babysitter? What about the babysitter? Where does the babysitter come and play at?
More cover-up.
Who is this?
More cover-up.
Yeah, but Casey is the one who reported the babysitter.
Right. Because she was covering for her father who was SAing all of them.
Including her.
Yes.
So covering them for what reason? Out of fear for her life?
Yes. Her father's a cop. He had a gun he had a pew in the house. He probably threatened them.
Okay, well, we're going to continue. Because obviously there's some type of chloroform tape that I haven't gotten to yet in this, according to the comment. So, this is my first time hearing anything on this story. I've only ever heard the name and a little bit from, online and stuff.
I watched this whole thing unfold in real time when it actually happened. It was like the O.J. Simpson trial. It was everywhere. You could not get away from it.
Okay, well, let's continue. If you're just joining, welcome in. We are discussing Casey Anthony. She is here now on this platform. She has created a TikTok. She is a legal advocate. I'm not for sure for what she is a legal advocate of, but yeah.
These 7 expert witnesses took the stand. But would any one of them sway the jury?
I am a forensic chemist, examiner, canine handler, hair and fiber examiner, professor of anthropology,
Geologist, forensic examiner, forensic toxicologist, computer examiner,
human identification laboratory.
In the latent print operations unit.
My specialty is analytical chemistry.
Insect evidence.
Most of the forensic science in the Anthony case focused on Kaylee's remains and the trunk of Casey's car.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find any hairs that showed evidence of apparent decomposition?
One of the items showed had a hair that exhibited characteristics of decomposition.
I think you had a death stain where Kaylee probably perished. It was the trunk of that car. And that's why she abandoned the car. And that's why she lied so much. That's why she waited so long. And the fact that she waited so long and saying anything meant that child was so decomposed they didn't know the cause of death.
Have you ever had the opportunity in your 30 years in the towing business to come across a vehicle in which there had been a dead body?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able at that juncture to make any connection?
It was an odor consistent to what I smelled in the past when it comes to decomposition. It's not a smell that you forget.
Based on my 23 years experience, my opinion is that it was the smell of human decomposition.
That trunk smelled like a dead body.
The trunk of my daughter's car smelled like human decomposition.
He was a cop. He knows what a dead body smells like.
There's something wrong with my daughter's car today. It smells like there's been a dead body in the car.
Casey's mother was a nurse. She knows what a dead body smells like.
When someone dies, the gases that are produced from the bacterial,
Casey's mom is a nurse.
Yes.
So if the daughter supposedly drowned, she didn't even try to, save Kaylee? But yet you're a nurse. So wouldn't you know firsthand how to save a drowning child?
So Casey had a nurse mom and a cop father. Put two and two together.
So crooked cop dad meets nurse. Has a baby. Who has a baby. And then lets their baby's baby drown. And then tries to cover it up. And my brain just can't wrap around everything that is happening right now. Thank you for the follow.
But here's the kicker, though.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Casey's car.
Yes, exactly. So the only person that can drive it is Casey.
Right. However, cars like that always have spare keys in case somebody loses it.
Right.
So I'm sure that the father or the mother had a spare key.
Well, yeah, that would make sense in case they needed to borrow the car to bring Casey's daughter home.
Now,
or if so, you know what I mean?
Now,
plus with him being a cop, he knows how to get into vehicles.
Right, and being a cop, he also knows how to plant evidence.
This is true.
No,
but at the same time, how would Casey not know her daughter would be in the trunk of the car?
Because maybe she didn't know maybe she wasn't aware of the smell at the time. I'm not really sure. I'm not Casey. I'm not really for sure.
I'm fairly certain that, and I've smelled some fucked up shit in my life. Excuse my French.
Just because you smell something doesn't mean you know what it is.
So you investigate. Why would she have not investigated the trunk if she smelled
because
something?
Do we know if she was driving the car the whole time?
No, but if she was living with her boyfriend, she would have had to have that car to go to the grocery store and back, right?
Living with her boyfriend.
They just said she was living with some guy named Tommy at the time that they found human remains in the car. Like, of Kaylee's hair and, I guess, bodily fluids or something. So if you think about it, if he didn't have a vehicle, then her vehicle would have been the only one.
Well, I would say they probably both had a vehicle if that was the case.
Well, hopefully, yes. But at the same time, you would think was she working? Because if she was working...
Yeah, she was working at Disney World.
Okay.
But at the same time...
Now that you mentioned that, brings me up to the part where they said that she said the child was a babysitter at Disney World. But if she worked at Disney World, wouldn't that automatically assume the child be with her?
Not necessarily.
The cats are outside, by the way. They're on the windowsill out there. It's getting nighttime anyway.
Get y'all's butts in here.
That ain't the first time. Don't push her.
I'm trying to get her in here.
You can't. It doesn't open on that side. It opens on the side that fat ass is in. She's trying to get in if her sister would move.
Move.
Come on. Other side, babe. Other side. Over here, babe. On the other side of the window. Towards the black thing.
What about it?
That right there. That's where they go in and out of the window. Don't pull that out. The window will break open.
Come on.
Come on. Get in here before you fall to your death.
And. Let's go.
Oh my God. 1 second. My cat.
Get in here.
I don't think it's that easy, Crystal. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
What?
People just don't forgive someone who does something like that, but at the same time, this is my first time I'm hearing about the story, so I'm
not even...
They said we need to move on and forgive her for what she did.
I don't believe she did anything.
Okay, now then, where did you... Okay, they're both in and everything? It's nighttime, that's the only reason I don't want that window.
I agree.
Okay, anyway, I am going to continue this.
So I completely agree with this person.
Okay, calm down.
Metabolism have really no place to escape. And we began monitoring which chemicals are being produced.
There was one expert who supposedly had a detector, a sniff test detector. It was the most ridiculous thing I had ever seen.
What was in that
Do you have
box?
an opinion as to whether there was a decomposing human body in the trunk of that car at some point?
I do have an opinion.
And what is that opinion?
I can find no other plausible explanation other than that.
You know that your findings are not generally accepted in the scientific community, do you not?
Yes. Sustained strike. Granted.
He was arguing that he could somehow sniff the air in a person's car and determine that it was the result of a decomposing human body. They put this what I would call a junk scientist on the stand to testify.
And the significance of the evidence, such as the smell of death, what that really meant, the fact that you had decaying hair in the trunk of the car. I know the defense wanted to call some of it voodoo science. I call it cutting-edge science that basically had support in the literature and scientific background.
What chemical compounds did that initial evaluation show?
And the large peak was identified as chloroform because the chloroform was shockingly high, unusually high.
And the thought was that perhaps Casey had used chloroform just to put her to sleep, and so she could go out. I heard, and don't know if it's true or not, that was done from time to time, and maybe in earlier years when people didn't understand how dangerous it was, and that she accidentally killed her.
Any clues or anything that I should focus on at the house? Mom's house, your house.
Outside of maybe stuff on the computer, nothing I can think of.
On the computer.
They late in the trial got into some of the internet searches that were done, and then they tried to attribute them to Casey Anthony. She had researched chloroform.
Were you asked to perform a keyword search for chloroform? Yes, I was. In this case, with the chloroform keyword search hit, we were able to recover a complete internet history.
Sorry.
From Mozilla Firefox. All right, so the user at the time typed in how to make chloroform.
Yes. The prosecution said that Casey Anthony used chloroform to kill her child. But I sat there in trial the entire time, paying attention to every word. I still don't know, how do you make chloroform? I have no idea. What are the ingredients? Did Casey ever buy those ingredients? Do you have any proof that she did? We never saw that. So that's a big piece of the puzzle missing.
In our case, there has been no evidence presented that Casey Marie Anthony used duct tape for any purpose, that she used chloroform ever for any purpose, and that in any way, in any capacity whatsoever, she contributed to the cause of death of this child. It is forcing, guessing, and speculation.
Jurors don't know anything. You're painting a picture on a canvas. Everything that you want them to see, you got to paint it in that picture. The defense not only did that, but they did something that most people really didn't notice they were doing. They were throwing out reasonable doubt in every corner.
So does Timu, but I don't know what that
of course,
has to do with anything.
Sex with a child under the age of 12
Whoop,
years old
good
is
job.
life in prison, don't you, sir?
Well, this day
For TV.
At week number 4 in the Casey Anthony trial, tempers flared as the defense doubled down on the strategy they had floated in opening statements: destroy the credibility of George Anthony.
Ms. Burdick, you may proceed.
Casey's car was in Orlando. Yes, ma'am. Once the car is in the garage, do you access it in some fashion? Yes, Casey's purse was on the front seat, and that Kaylee's baby doll, her favorite doll. Her favorite doll was in the car seat, like it was sitting where Kaylee would have sat.
I think Cindy Anthony was a compelling witness. There were times where she burst into tears on the stand. She was doubled over in agony as she's listening to the 911 calls. And I think that the jury, their heart went out to her.
When you look at the dynamics of the testimony of George and Cindy Anthony, you really look at the ebb and flow of that particular trial.
My life and personal life is none of your concern.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess. Here you have these loving grandparents who would move heaven and earth for their granddaughter. But also you have them in the unenviable role of being the parents of the person who's accused of murdering this child. You got Cindy faced with this proposition. Her testimony not only could lead to her daughter being found guilty of murder in the first degree, but it could also lead to the imposition of the ultimate sanction of death.
In late January of 2009, you attempted to commit suicide.
The defense didn't try to throw George Anthony under the bus.
Did you, sir?
Yes, sir, I did. The defense threw him under the bus, backed up the bus, ran over him again, backed it up again, and ran over him again.
So you were drinking beer and blood pressure medication?
They crucified him in court.
You have to be specific with me, sir. Give me a date, and I'll answer.
I'm giving you a date, but my
No, sir, you are badgering me. You're trying to get me upset, sir. I'm just asking you
treat me with a little bit of respect, and you get respect back. That's all I'm asking.
Mr. Anthony, would you like to answer my question now?
Objection to counsel's.
Why did you block and mute
And I
them?
don't think that the jury necessarily believed what they were saying, but George started to show this defiant side of him.
Mr. Anthony, do you know a woman by the name of Crystal Holloway?
I know her by that name and also another name.
Did you have a romantic relationship with her?
No, sir. No. To me, that's very funny.
Very funny.
Yes, sir.
George Anthony is now a cop with a chip on his shoulder testifying, and he looked like, yeah, he probably could have done something wrong, which I think came directly from him being accused of something that he says he didn't do.
Defense calls Crystal Holloway. Did you develop a relationship with Mr. Anthony?
Yes, sir, I did.
Was this an intimate relationship?
Yes.
Did there ever come an occasion where you had
Not him lying on the stand.
heart-to-heart conversation with George Anthony as to what happened to his granddaughter?
He was sitting on my couch, and he had told me, he had said it was an accident that snowballed out of control.
Cross-examination?
Oh!
How much money did you get from the National Enquirer for selling your story?
The $4,000.
$4,000.
You may be seated. All right, gentlemen.
You know, of course, that sex with a child under the age of 12 years old is life in prison, don't you, sir?
Relevance.
Sustained.
You're aware of the possible penalties of child molesting, don't you, sir?
Objection. Relevance.
Sustained.
You, of course, would never admit to molesting your child, would you, sir?
Objection. Argumentative.
There was an insinuation here, I think, that perhaps George had somehow been responsible in some way for the death of Kaylee, and that Casey's reluctance to turn on her father had something to do with the fact that he had been abusing her.
Sir, I would never do anything to harm my daughter in that way.
Only in that way.
Yeah, I do. I still go dumpster diving.
Sustained.
You don't talk about a fact if you know that there is not a way to prove it. And generally, the only way to prove something is through testimony of an individual. I don't believe that Jose or Jay intended on calling Casey as a witness. So it was unclear to me how they were going to prove up those accusations.
I do think that the defense did a really good job of confusing the issues. Maybe it was George Anthony. Maybe it was somebody else. We don't know. Maybe it was the meter reader.
Were you aware of there being a reward offered for finding Kaylee?
And by the time we were done with 7 weeks worth of trial, everybody looked guilty.
The prosecutors set for themselves a very tough bar in seeking death. Every piece of evidence is
Yeah, I have
laid
4.
under a microscope by the jurors. If there's any
I have 2
flaw,
cats and 2 dogs.
link, no matter how apparently insignificant it may be, it's not insignificant to a death penalty jury.
I think that you'll see that despite the outcry, the notoriety, the emotions, so forth, case is not here.
Do you recognize the president of the jury? Good evening, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Have you reached the verdict?
And each count was being read. What went through my mind was, holy this is never going to go away. We are going to be talking about this in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
After 5 weeks of testimony in the Anthony trial, the 7 women and 5 men on the jury prepared for closing arguments. But millions of people around the world were preparing too. They remained fixated on the case and hopeful that justice for Kaylee was just around the corner.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the attorneys now will present their final arguments. The state may proceed.
Thank you, sir. When you have a child, that child becomes your life. This case is about the clash between that responsibility and the life that Casey Anthony wanted to have. She took her life and she put it in the trunk and forgot about her. And she disposed of her body in a swamp. It is a trip down a rabbit hole into a bizarre world where men who love their granddaughters find them drowned and do nothing. This is the world that the defense invites you to occupy. Casey Anthony is guilty of murder in the first degree.
I have to tell you that I probably think you have more questions than you have answers. It is extremely reasonable that she could have drowned in the pool. And that's where the state fails. They must rebut each and every reasonable hypothesis of innocence. They cannot rebut this. They're hoping they throw enough against the wall and see what sticks. Right down to their...
I also believe that, Maria.
1 week it was chloroform. Today, it's duct tape. I'm not proud of the way Casey behaved. I don't think anybody here can justify her actions. But they do not constitute murder.
The defendant is not required to present evidence or prove anything. Never forget, no matter what the issue is, they have all of the burden and there is none over here.
Members of the jury, I would like to thank you for your attention during the trial. Please pay attention to the instructions I'm about to give you. The judge's job is to give the standard jury instruction. It's the prosecution or the defense to request a special instruction. One, would a special jury instruction indicating that proving how she died was not an element of the crime to be proven, I think that may have made a tremendous difference. I had already prepared that instruction, but when I got no request for that, I didn't figure it would come from the defense. I figured it would come from the state, but they never asked.
They needed an instruction on how they can convict on a lesser charge. Because Casey was looking at murder one, but she was also looking at basically negligent treatment of a child. Super easy to prove.
It
But they
baffles
didn't
me.
get that.
Members of the jury,
But then again, I dealt with it myself
time now
from my
to
own
begin your deliberations.
mother, unfortunately. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Janie, do you think she's going to walk today? I'm just asking for a prediction, sir.
Keep moving, please. Keep moving. Keep moving.
Also, I don't think that she's going to instruction, Todd. I think she was later about it.
It has been brought to my attention that the jury has reached a verdict.
I think she was cooking the burger out when it came to her own
That's
child.
right. Let's return to jury. It was totally quiet in the courtroom, and the jurors start coming in. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Have you reached a verdict? Would you hand the verdict form to the court deputy, please? There was this tension in the room. It was so quiet in that courtroom that you could hear a pin drop, except we could hear the helicopters from the local news stations circling around overhead. I actually read the jury verdict twice to make sure that my eyes were not playing tricks on me. Will the defendant rise along with counsel?
It's like, what?
Madam Clerk, you may publish the verdicts.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count one, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
So when they said not guilty, I could hear 25 floors below the crowd outside. I could hear them gasp.
See, that's the biggest problem right there. They had already
As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, verdict as to count two, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of aggravated manslaughter of a child, verdict as to count three, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Then each count was being read, and she's being found not guilty and not guilty. What went through my mind was, holy, this is never going to go away. We are going to be talking about this
in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
As to count 4. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of providing false information to a law enforcement officer as charged in the indictment.
I'm watching Casey. She's standing there. She's sort of breathing heavily. And as each verdict is being read, I can see her shoulders are getting a little less tense. I can see that Jose's shoulders are getting a little less tense. And I can see the prosecution getting more and more tense and more angry. And the cops who investigated the case were sitting 2 rows behind me. And one of them walked out and said to the other, that was some right there. Because they were furious.
One of the jurors indicated that the reason she found the defendant not guilty was because the state could not prove how the child died.
I thought it was a travesty. I felt like the prosecution hadn't adequately explained circumstantial evidence, because this was a circumstantial evidence case.
I wasn't surprised. I was surprised at the total acquittal. And I think as prosecutors, you should have put everyone on alert. Be very careful before you recommend prosecution on the death penalty.
Had they charged Casey Anthony with manslaughter or second-degree murder, ultimately the case may have resolved in another manner.
I think she beat the system. Casey Anthony beat the system. She sat there trying to look like, a choir girl the whole time, and wringing her hands and everything else. She lied to everybody. People hated her. People still hate her.
Do.
There's not but 2 people that know what happened. One is dead, that's Kaylee. And the other person is Casey. Maybe one day. And for the sake of that child, she will answer that question, what really happened?
If I could ask Casey Anthony a question, I wouldn't ask her what happened to Kaylee. I'm not going to get the truth from her. I would ask her, how do you sleep? How do you sleep each night?
I don't think she actually knows.
What haunts you, Casey? What did you do?
God knows. But
The public outrage over Casey Anthony's verdict prompted the Florida legislature to pass Kaylee's Law in 2012. That makes it a felony for a parent or a legal guardian to fail to report a missing child. Several other states have passed versions of Kaylee's Law, inspired by that little toddler from Osceola County. I'm Ashley Banfield. Thanks for joining us.
So there you go. Now you know.
Okay, so I'm kind of undecided on whether she did it or not. I know there's probably a lot more that I believe she's going to be coming out about this year. I have a feeling, just based off of because I watched her TikTok all the way through today, and she said she was going to be touching on that subject.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she was just waiting for the right time to where she felt comfortable talking about it. I think she just needed the time to grieve because it was her daughter.
I think the biggest issue is people had already placed judgment on her before the case even started.
Yes. And I think the reason people did that was because she waited
media.
so long.
The media.
Yeah, social media has a way of twisting things.
No, not social media.
Media in general.
Just
fine.
The media coverage and how they were making her look.
Right.
Is why she is considered the most hated person in the country.
Mm-hmm.
More hated than Gypsy Rose or anybody else.
The news is
14 years ago, a Central Florida jury
talking about her because she's resurfacing on TikTok now. I am trying to see if her actual video is on here.
There's one where she breaks silence.
Hmm? Oh yeah, they said where she said it was her dad. Here's Elizabeth Holmes.
I have no idea.
Elizabeth Holmes, the disgraced founder of Theranos, faces up to 20 years in prison at her sentencing today.
Legal career since trial?
That was posted 2 years ago, so she's got a legal career. So why are people surprised that she's a legal advocate then? If this was posted 2 years ago and it has 59,000 views. It was posted by Peacock.
Oregon State Police say the body of a missing Anna Cord.
Okay. I'm not finding, like, that's the one I want to watch, but that's just
14 years ago.
The news talking about it. What in the...
What was that?
I don't know. Was it Discord? I don't know. Something popped up. Had it been... Let's see. Oh.
Oh, now people are starting to comment.
It was Tristan. They were probably waiting for this to be done.
See, it doesn't matter. It's just, people have so much hate in their heart.
Who are they telling to go away?
Her.
Oh, I thought they were talking about me. I'm like, I'm just talking about the subject because I don't know much about it. I just watched it for the first time. I don't know because I don't trust her dad. I know that. Her mom, however, she showed a lot more sympathy.
People are gonna believe what they want to believe at the end of the day.
I don't believe her dad for a split second. There's something about her dad I just don't trust. It's just this gut instinct. There's something evil about her dad.
I think the only reason why she didn't report her missing was because she wasn't aware that she was missing. I think that's the reason why she wasn't reported.
So, oh shit!
What?
Dolly Parton's husband just passed away.
I thought he was already dead.
She just posted it herself 50 minutes ago on Facebook. Carl Dean, husband of Dolly Parton, passed away March 3rd in Nashville at the age of 82. He will be laid to rest in a private ceremony with immediate family attending. He was survived by his siblings, Sandra and Donnie. Carl and I spent many wonderful years together. Words can't do justice to the love we shared for over 60 years. Thank you for your prayers and sympathy. The family has asked for privacy during this difficult time. Why did she say she left her with a nanny? My husband believes it was a cover-up. I don't know. They didn't really talk much about the nanny. They pretty much skipped over that in court.
I believe the whole thing was a cover-up. They were trying to protect the dad.
Like, the only thing they said was there a such... what was the name of the nanny? Like, I done forgot because they didn't touch on it that much.
Because if you actually notice how the dad acted on the...
oh, he was so...
He was very irritated.
He got offensive.
Exactly.
Tried defending himself. He didn't show sympathy. He attempted to, but not a single teardrop came out of them eyes, and it only lasted for a couple minutes. Like, that was acting if I've ever seen it. And I don't trust the dad.
And if you notice, when they were asking him about the SA and his response, if you notice Casey Anthony's reaction, her eyebrows went up like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen that. Like, her reaction was like, are you serious right now? Like, are you really going to lie on, like, you know?
I personally do not believe that she actually committed the crime. I don't think that she was fully aware of what was even going on. I think that
looking at her, I do not get any. The only bad vibes I get from her is I feel like she is a troubled soul, like a troubled person. That she's had a rocky past. Like, just from looking at her and looking into her eyes, you can tell that she has had some shit happen. To where there's some stuff that she can't even talk about.
Going on in the family that she was covering up.
Mm-hmm. To save her life.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why a lot of the stuff that she was saying to the cops, she couldn't keep up with everything, so she was trying to make it.
Regardless, they cannot find her guilty. It would be double jeopardy.
Right.
So she could come forward, which I am following and waiting to see if she does a confession or a story time, because she did say she was going to touch on the topic of her parents and grandparents or whatever. So I am patiently waiting for her to come out with more stuff. You know, I thought about messaging her to see, hey, if you wanted to, like, you know, come on here and, you know, live and talk about it. That she's probably got like 50,000 followers now. Last time I checked earlier, it was like 45, 47.
People, like I said, people avoiding me.
And for the person on here who keeps telling me to leave her alone, I'm not attacking her in any way, shape, or form. She is all over my For You page, and I did not know who she was. I only knew her age, or not her age, her name. I don't even know her age.
So we're not attacking her in any way, shape, or form. She didn't know who she was.
I've only heard her name, and I've only heard what people are saying about her on the internet. Like, on TikTok. My entire For You page is full of her. I'm trying to watch gospel stuff. I'm trying to watch, like, you know, I don't even see Ash Trevino anymore. It's all her. And I was like, okay, who is this? Let me do a podcast on it. I'll watch it while live. I'll discuss it to see what I think my opinions are, my point of view is, blah, 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 because I have seen people literally say they want her deceased. They want her to die. They want her off this platform. Like, I have seen people literally say the worst about her. And some of the things that they have told her, I've personally been told as well. So, you know, I guess I kind of feel a connection to her in that way, because I've also been called a baby unaliver. And, you know, I've also been told that I needed to, you know, be deceased as well. So I kind of feel for her in that, you know, particular area. Now, her case and my case is different. I don't have a case, but to people that think I am a baby unaliver, it's simply because I've had to pull the plugs on my son. You know, there was no hope for him. He was not going to survive. And a case. I did what was recommended to me by his doctors, and people are assuming that I did it just to get rid of him. But I don't think anybody's really going to know the 100% truth. Only God and Casey knows what happened. I don't even think Casey knows. Like, you know. I
personally don't think she does.
Exactly 100% what happened. I think she has a history of DRUG use. And hopefully she doesn't, but I kind of get that feeling that she does. Obviously she was out partying, so, you know, something happened. Something had to have happened for her to not report, you know, for 31 days. Because you see nowadays, even the parents who actually have done harm to their kids like that usually report within 1 to 3 days, you know, like, hey, you know, and then they find, you know what I mean? So there had to have been something, like my husband is saying, he thinks it was a cover-up, that the dad had a lot of involvement, where Casey said the dad did SA, you know, her daughter, you know, stuff like that. My husband thinks that Casey was trying to cover up for her dad.
No, I think she was in fear of her life, and
that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
Was covering it up because she was in fear of her life from her dad because her dad was, a cop and knew how to, like, do stuff. I mean, if you think about it. But I don't know. I don't like her dad. From what I've seen,
somebody mentioned about the chloroform thing. I don't.
They didn't even touch on that. She wasn't even found. No, they don't even believe that in the court.
So, well, I think
from
that
what I just watched.
But I think one of her parents was actually using her computer and looked that up. I don't think she actually looked that up. Because there was no evidence that she actually even tried to, make chloroform.
Do I like her? I don't know her. I'm not going to judge her. I'm not going to say I dislike her. I'm not going to say I like her. I've never personally met her, never personally talked to her. This is the first time I'm even hearing about what she possibly could have done, but was found innocent on.
She was only found guilty on one charge, and that was lying to the police.
Yes.
That was it. And she spent what?
No, I do not like her dad. I just get a bad vibe, and I don't like the way he was talking to, I'm assuming, the lawyers and prosecutors on the stand, and how he was very defensive and kind of had that little smirk when he was talking to them, how he was fake crying for like 2 seconds, No, but I know crooked cops when I see them.
You don't have to know.
As for her, I feel for her because I get told the same shit, like I said earlier, that she's currently being told online. It's been, she's resurfacing on TikTok and everything, coming to TikTok, which I think is very brave of her, considering the amount of hate that she has against her and the amount of people who wish harm on her. I think she was very brave for coming to TikTok and putting her face out like that, like this, even if it's just in her car. You can see her face, you can see the tattoo she has. She lives in Florida. Like, you can see her in public, and the amount of people who are wishing death upon her. It's just, she's so brave in my eyes.
So here's my
it takes a lot of strength to, come to resurface like that.
So here's my thing about that. So this was back in 2008 when she got a not guilty verdict.
Mm-hmm.
And people have seen her out in public. People have seen her, since then. And it's funny that nobody since that time has laid a hand on her.
Yeah.
But yet, as soon as she comes on TikTok, and I have scrolled through plenty of videos about people threatening her and everything else on TikTok, but it's funny, nobody has yet laid a hand on her in public. So personally, I think that there is a bunch of internet bullies and are not, really trying to do anything. They just want, views and likes and everything for their, platform. And I think that's disgusting. Now, I don't like her or dislike her myself, but I will support somebody who has lost a child in a gruesome way and has been through what she has been through, just like I supported Gypsy Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who has been through a bad time like that, I will support them. And I don't care who I get backlash from. I don't like when people hate on other people just because of what media has told them. I don't care what media says about other people. I go by what evidence says, and I don't go by what facts are presented to me. And as far as Casey Anthony's case, she was found not guilty of the crime, so I have no reason to believe that she actually committed the crime. Do I feel bad that she lost her child? Yes, I do. Very bad for it. Because she shouldn't have. But I will not bash her, and I will continue to support her, just like I would support anybody else who, goes through a horrible ordeal like that. I support my wife when, going through stuff like that. And I will continue to do it. I do not understand why people have to hate on other people when they don't know the whole story. When they don't have facts. They only go about what they hear. Let me go get a cigarette.
Oh, you're not going to talk anymore? Because at this point, I don't know what more to say about the case. Like, my opinion is I really don't have one because there's too many mixed signals, too many stories out there about it that there's not really proof on anybody on who did what,
Well, like I said, personally, I think it was a cover-up. I don't think Casey really knew what was going on. I think that she was in fear of her dad and started, just trying to make up excuses for what was going on. I don't think that she even realized what her dad had done. I don't even think she realized that her kid was even missing. That's the reason why I think that she...
Now, is there pictures of like her daughter's body? I know that sounds weird, but
I don't think so. I think they kept that private. I don't think there's anything...
Like crime scene photos.
Yeah, I don't think...
like how they did with Gypsy's mom.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything like that on there considering there was a minor. Because if you notice on there, it blurred it out.
Yeah, I'm looking in Google right now with Safe Search off, and it's still blurred.
Yeah, I really don't care, if anybody, likes her, doesn't like her, believes she, did the deed. I don't care what people believe.
I don't know. Every time I look at her, she looks like she's about to fucking cry or something. Like, she either looks pissed off or like she's going to cry in these pictures.
Only one person...
Or that she's shocked.
Only one person really knows the truth, and that is God. God is the one who knows exactly what happened. And that's all that matters. I don't believe she did it, but only God knows. It's not up to us to judge somebody based on evidence we don't have. And I'm not gonna sit here and do it. I'm not gonna sit here and hate on somebody because of what other people say or what media says or anything like that. People have made up their mind about her before the case even started. And that to me is disgusting.
It says right here that her dad was pissed off that she was found not guilty.
Of course he was.
Wouldn't you be proud that your daughter was found not guilty?
Because he didn't want him to be in the spotlight.
Apparently, January the 4th, Casey Anthony has now been accusing her father of being the reason of her daughter's death. Apparently, she came out about it January 4th, 2024.
And I don't doubt it one bit. I honestly don't. Being his profession and the stuff that he
Is he even still alive?
Yes, he's still alive.
Okay.
But considering, what he knows, like what he's trained to do and stuff like that, I would surprise me, Annie. It really wouldn't. But I ain't gonna go get a cigarette. Mm-hmm. But I'm still in the live stream.
Alright, so Oh, God, Jesus fucking Christ. We have a broken ass bed. I'm sorry. There's a lot of shit broken in my house right now. Okay. So they took a lie detector test. Yeah, so I am just, yeah. So, it is now 8:34 p.m. Honestly, I don't know if she did it. You know what I mean? I know there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, she straight up did it. You know, the media, they can say whatever. People can say whatever. And because it's on the internet, people will believe it. Let's see.
Kylie Posey,
I really sadly making this video helpful, but as we all know, I have terminal cancer and
Now the latest explosive allegation to come from the first interview given by Casey Anthony since her acquittal 11 years ago in her daughter Kaylee's death. She is blaming her father for the death of her daughter.
There are more explosive revelations from the new docu-series about the notorious Casey Anthony.
What do you think my question's going to be?
why did I wait 31 days to call 911?
911 was an emergency. My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
Once known as the most hated woman in America, Casey Anthony is interviewed for a 3-part series on the Peacock streaming service.
I'm lying. And no one asked why.
During the trial, the complete 911 call was played for the jury.
Why did you call 31 days ago? I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was stupid.
This additional clip ran on the Today Show.
The only person in this world that matters to me still is my daughter. But I'm still defending the fact that I didn't hurt her.
The new documentary is also generating headlines like this. Casey Anthony blames her father for daughter Kaylee's death. When contacted today by Inside Edition, George said, "I am in contact with an attorney. That's all I can say at this moment." He was tight-lipped when photographers approached him today.
Do you have any comment about your daughter's allegation? George, you got anything to say?
George Anthony previously has denied having anything to do with Kaylee's death. Casey Anthony, Where the Truth Lies, begins streaming on Peacock November 29th.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, she still defends her innocence.
No, I clicked it because It says she revealed why she waited 31 days.
For the first time on camera, Casey Anthony, the woman infamously accused and later acquitted of murdering her own daughter, Kaylee.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, not guilty. Casey's never told her story.
Is now addressing lingering questions more than a decade after that not guilty decision.
911 emergency. My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
Including why it took a month to report Kaylee's disappearance and what happened on the last day she saw her daughter.
The only person in this world that matters to me still is my daughter. But I'm still defending the fact that I didn't hurt her.
In a 3-part limited series, Anthony blames her father, George, for the tragic death, alleging that he staged Kaylee's drowning in order to cover up that he might have been abusing his granddaughter. She tells Peacock, owned by NBC Universal, which also owns NBC News, that the day Kaylee disappeared, she actually fell asleep with the 2-year-old child in her arms, only to be awakened by her father, later holding the lifeless child. In the series, Casey says, she was soaking wet. I could see him standing there with her in his arms and hand her to me and telling me that it's my fault, that I did that I caused that. But he didn't rush to call 911 and he wasn't trying to resuscitate her. For 31 days, Anthony says she thought her daughter was alive and well while she stayed with a boyfriend.
She was perfect.
But back in 2011, Anthony's defense team telling a different story, arguing in court that Kaylee was not killed, but drowned in the family pool. And after the child was found, he helped dispose of the body in order to cover up the death, something George Anthony repeatedly denied during testimony. Casey Anthony now admits she lied about a host of circumstances to police as a consequence of a fractured family life, and a father who lawyers accused of sexually abusing her for years.
I lied. And no one asked why.
George Anthony also vehemently denied those abuse allegations in court and has never been charged with any crimes related to them. He has not responded yet to our new request for comment on the documentary. As one of the most controversial trials in recent memory,
You do everything in your power to protect your daughter.
deepens with another voice and another chapter.
And Casey Anthony was convicted of several charges, including lying to police for which he served time behind bars. That documentary will be available on November 29th on Peacock.
So this is my first video diary.
This is the first look we've had.
All right, Berto, we're back with part 2.
Can you scratch my back? I cannot reach. I tried. Up. Oh! Dr. Phil did this. Did a thing on her.
I mean, we know that a lot of this case focused on what these people knew and when they knew it. A lot of the defense focused on Georgia's role in the death and disappearance of
Georgia.
Now, I want to find it.
What?
Damn cat.
Every family.
Well, Vinnie Politan, thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments, and I'll apologize off the top if I look.
Who's Megan Boswell?
I have no idea.
Judge, 3 weeks ago, a judge is comparing Casey Anthony and Megan Boswell.
Never heard of that name.
Well, it's just
Now, Megan Boswell is accused of murdering her 15-month-old baby, Evelyn, and many people watching this case are comparing it to another very high-profile case, the case against Casey Anthony. Two young moms accused of killing their own beautiful young daughters. Joining me now, the judge who presided over Casey Anthony's trial, retired Chief Judge Belvin Perry Jr. Judge, good morning to you. Do you feel that there's
Earlier this week, we played for you the 911 call Casey Anthony placed when she claimed a woman threw a drink at her. Now, police body cam video has been released.
For the
Casey Anthony's parents breaking their silence for the first time.
I can understand why like they just couldn't convict because there just isn't there's not enough. I'm unsure if she is 100%. You can absolve her 100%. Like there's some things that I don't buy. Like I don't buy a lot of shit she said, but I didn't see any pattern of neglect. That's what fucked me up. Like usually in these cases, like there's a pattern of neglect, and there's stuff like the coroner can see. You know what I'm saying? But that just wasn't the case. I can understand why.
I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. I've been in the legal field since 2011. And in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter. For those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Anthony. Wow. First, Mike Lindell, the permanent L, and now we have Casey Anthony scurrying back over to Annalise Keaton's internet to say that she is a legal advocate and she is here to show her face because this is the best way she knows how to advocate for those, I guess, that employ her as well as her daughter, Kaylee. So in case you've been living under a rock and you don't know who Casey Anthony is and why there will be so much outrage surrounding her returning to social media, back in December of 2008, her beautiful daughter, Kaylee Anthony's remains were found in a laundry bag wrapped in a blanket close to her home. It was after she had been missing for, I believe, over a month, and they were searching for her. Casey Anthony told many lies, and quite frankly, she went to trial and ultimately came back with not guilty. So since that unfortunate incident occurred, Casey Anthony has flew under the radar. Last I heard, at one point she was working as a photographer, and she was also employed by her attorney as a researcher. However, we haven't heard a whole lot from her and definitely didn't see her come out so boldly on social media. Now, in that video, she did say that she has a Substack where she's asking for paid subscribers. When I took the screenshot, she had about 71 subscribers, so she's trying to make a little swing. Now, of course, we know how the combination of the internet streets work, honey. They have quickly created a petition to get Casey Anthony off of social media. She started that on the Tickety Talk. Not sure if she went over to other platforms. But they have started a petition where they have 12 signatures thus far. Now, when it comes down to anybody who's anybody can have supporters, I always say this. Baby Charles Manson has supporters. So if he can have some supporters, honey, I'm pretty sure there are some people that are out there that are willing to support Casey Anthony in rebuilding her image. But I think that she can't rebuild that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the only thing that I would be interested to hear from her is what happened to Kaylee.
because we still don't know exactly what happened to Kaylee. We know a lot of conspiracy theories, we know a lot of speculation, but we don't know the truth. So that would be the only thing I would be interested in hearing from her. And I'm sure there are other people that feel the same. Like I said, there are people that are out there that will support her. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Please put your thoughts in the comments. W. Mo.
Your silence is my...
She had no way of getting in the pool unless he put her in the pool to cover up what he... She had no way of getting in the pool unless he put her in the pool to cover up what he did.
Casey Anthony opening up like never before.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Over a decade after what was called the trial of the century.
Oh, yes, I will definitely give her credit for being one of the best liars I've ever seen.
I just need someone to be willing to listen.
She's speaking out in a new docuseries, Casey Anthony, Where the Truth Lies.
You're going to ask that question. What happened to Kaylee?
In 2008, Casey's 2-year-old daughter Kaylee was reported missing. Her body was later discovered near her family's Florida home. Casey was charged with Kaylee's death. Her defense team claimed Kaylee had accidentally drowned, and Casey's father, George Anthony, disposed of her body.
Manipulation after manipulation after manipulation. But somehow, he got cleared by law enforcement from day one.
On stand at the trial, George denied having any knowledge of Kaylee drowning and said he had nothing to do with the disposal of her body. He also denied Casey's claims he ever abused her, which also come up in the new doc.
He didn't inquire to where I was that day because he knew. He didn't inquire to where Kaylee was because he was the only one who knew where she was.
In the series, Casey, as she did in the trial, alleges that her father could have been involved.
She had no way of getting in the pool. There was nothing for her to have shimmied up. To me, there's no way of explaining that unless he put her in the pool to cover up what he did. So if he decided to call the police, they would have looked at it as a drowning and not actually examined her.
A lot of the docuseries features Casey reflecting on her regrets from when Kaylee was still alive.
I wish every day I would have said something to somebody at some...
Maybe things would be different. Probably not.
Look, this chick. People were talking about the fact that
I can't stand her.
Who?
Nancy Grace.
Is he interviewing?
Her?
Yeah. Can't stand her.
Casey Anthony is back in the headlines.
What's the incident?
Casey Anthony is back in the headlines.
What's the incident?
It's an assault. It's a robbery.
Cops say Anthony, who was famously acquitted of murdering her 2-year-old daughter Kaylee, got into an argument with another woman at a Florida bar. According to the police report, Anthony said the dispute was about an ex-boyfriend they were dating at the same time.
And they threw a drink at you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm fine. No, it was a repeated incident. It was a verbal assault outside and then thrown drink inside. I would just like to make an official report.
Okay, where is the person that threw the drink?
She's already left the premises, but I have more information.
No one was charged in the incident. 10 years ago, the nation was riveted by Casey Anthony's trial. She was dubbed the most hated woman in America.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Her acquittal shocked many. An upcoming Lifetime special called Cellmate Secrets, Casey Anthony, features Robin Adams, who was incarcerated with Anthony in 2008, while Adams was facing a drug charge. She says she was there when Casey Anthony got the news that her missing daughter's body had been found.
She was hysterical. She was hysterical.
as any parent would be.
And did you believe her reaction to be genuine, or do you believe that she was hiding something?
I believe that her reaction really was genuine.
A juror who acquitted Casey Anthony is also speaking out, saying, "My decision haunts me to this day. I think now, if I were to do it over again, I'd push harder to convict her of one of the lesser charges like aggravated manslaughter or child abuse."
May the jury find the defendant not guilty.
Danny, thank you. Now that news breaking overnight in Orange County, our crews are the only ones there as Zenaida Gonzalez walks out of the Orange County jail.
And the woman who once accused Casey Anthony of defamation is now accused of stealing hundreds of dollars from a cancer patient. News 6 reporter Kirsten O'Connor is live at the jail this morning, where Gonzalez just bonded out a few hours ago. Kirsten.
Right, Bridget, and we were the only ones here when she walked out of the jail this morning, and of course we asked her about those charges. Police said United Gonzalez and her boyfriend stole a cancer patient's credit card and then went on a shopping spree right around the holidays. But when she walked out right here at the Orange County Jail just a few hours ago, she didn't have a whole lot to say to us. Our cameras were the only ones following Zenaida Gonzalez out of the Orange County Jail early this morning. But when we started asking questions about her arrest, she said nothing. But investigators say they recognized her name.
It wasn't until after detectives began investigating that they discovered that Zenaida Gonzalez, the suspect in our case, was connected to the Casey Anthony case.
Gonzalez sued Casey Anthony for defamation in 2013. Claiming Anthony framed her as the babysitter who kidnapped and killed Casey's daughter, Kaylee. But last September, that suit was thrown out. Now detectives say Gonzalez and her boyfriend, Jonathan Acevedo, are charged with stealing a credit card from a man who was fighting cancer while he was staying at the Star.
This is news to me.
Same.
Were using that credit card while the
So she didn't lie about the name.
No, she did not.
Working at the motel, cleaning carpets, giving them access to the man's room.
It only has 8,000 views, so I don't think people know about this.
About suspicious transactions.
Back in 2013.
Spending nearly $850 at a nearby Walmart, Home Depot, even a 7-Eleven.
So you know he was getting cash paper?
Deputies say surveillance video showed the couple using the stolen card at one of the stores. Now, we just checked this morning, and Gonzalez's boyfriend, Acevedo, is still here at the Orange County Jail. He's sitting on a...
See, now I got...
Okay.
Whoa. Okay, that just made me more and more believable on her end. That means she did not lie about there being a nanny. So why did they say there wasn't a nanny?
Nanny files suit against Casey Anthony. But the landlord even said that there was nobody by that name, but at the same time they didn't have the name right either.
Mm-mm.
They had the rest of the name right, but just not the first name.
Danny, thank you. None of that news breaking.
She is revealing her face to clear her name. Zenaida Gonzalez is showing her face to the public for the very first time. The single mother of 6 was implicated in the case when Casey Anthony claims that Gonzalez was her babysitter. More than 2 weeks after her first meeting with Watch 2, Gonzalez sat down with Michelle Meredith again to discuss her new lawsuit against Casey and her innocence.
Today, Zenaida Gonzalez walked into the room wearing a suit and a smile, so different from the first time we met her.
When they told you that you had been accused of kidnapping.
Oh, my God. In fact, Zenaida she was afraid to show her face. Not anymore.
I'm still scared. Don't get me wrong, I'm still scared. You know? But I got somebody that's gonna help me, clear my name.
Now Zenaida has a new attorney, John Morgan, and a new attitude. She plans to make Casey Anthony pay in court with a defamation lawsuit.
No, she threw me into this mess. I didn't ask to be brought into it. You think I'm like this and be in the media? No, I don't like that. That's not my life. My life is a quiet, stay to myself with my kids.
Zenaida's life changed the minute Casey Anthony said her name. In July, Casey told investigators Kaylee was kidnapped by the babysitter, a babysitter named Zenaida Gonzalez.
You feel like you're in jail without being in jail. That's how it feels.
How Casey got that name, still the subject of endless debate. While apartment hunting, though, Zenaida did visit the Sawgrass Apartments, where Casey had friends. A record of Zenaida's visit was on file.
We know through police records that Casey's phone pinged from around the Sawgrass Apartments area.
And that's what we're trying to come with, to find some closure, find some peace in all this. Not only peace for my family and my children, but for peace for that little girl.
That little girl, of course, is Kaylee Anthony. Casey has 30 days to respond to Zenaida's lawsuit.
And it was thrown out?
Yep. It was thrown out. It's 9 o'clock.
On our
Here now is Matt Austin.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Anthony. My daughter is Kaylee Anthony.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
I feel that it's important that I use the...
Hold up. That was a year ago.
Here now is Matt Austin and Ginger Gaston with Florida's Fourth Estate. Sponsored by Lyra.
It's 19 minutes, though. Alright. Well, that's all I'm going to touch on that for tonight.
What are you...
So I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here. It is after 9. It is 9:01 p.m. here. You guys have a wonderful night. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.